So let's get into Ken Dorsey here. And I think for most Browns fans, the first question is what happened in Buffalo? And I know that the word scapegoat was kind of getting thrown around after that move got made after that Denver loss. Obviously, it's been a little while now since that move, but I guess take me back to when it happened, kind of your first thoughts and kind of what you think happened with Ken Dorsey.
Yeah, so the Bills were at the time, I remember Mike Sando from The Athletic had put out a story like basically highlighting how good the Bills offense had been, even though the fact that, in Buffalo, like there was a lot of pressure and even nationally, like, okay, what's going on? Josh Allen looks different. Like that's one of the big things that changed this year from last year is that he wasn't running as much. And when they actually moved on from Ken, that's when they started to go back to that. So maybe had they done that, this would have never occurred. But that was kind of like an organizational instruction. It's like, all right, Josh Allen's getting older. We don't want to run him as much. It's almost like a break glass in case of emergency situation. And they were sitting there at 6-6, and they had lost to the Denver Broncos, and it felt like the season was slipping away, and they had to do something. And the big thing for Sean McDermott that he mentioned was energy. Like he wanted to energize the offense. It was a unit that was lacking. He didn't say this, but like inspiration, right? And that's not really Ken Dorsey, right? Like he's very methodical. He's very like we've seen the clip of him, right? Like from his first season when he's like losing it in the coach's box. He's very competitive. But week to week, day to day, he's much more measured. He's much more analytical in the way that he not only thinks about the game, but how he operates with his offense. So I think it was just maybe a personality change. And it's different for every offense. Like I think that he actually is very much in line with who I perceive Kevin Stefanski to be. Like I feel like their messaging might be a little bit more aligned. Where I think Sean's a little bit more fiery, like maybe a little bit more like roll your sleeves up and get in the mud a little bit with guys. And that's definitely what Brian Dable was, and Josh Allen really was good in that environment. And I just wonder if, as good as the offense was, and the fact that it made a lot of sense to go from Dable to Dorsey, who basically learned his scheme over 3 years and was going to keep it in his tenure as offensive coordinator. It made a lot of sense. People forget this. He was a first time play caller, and it's not always going to be perfect. There's going to be some things you learn about along the way. And Joe Brady, whose first opportunity came in Carolina a couple of years ago and only lasted a year and a half before he was fired, he talked about how much he needed that experience to have the kind of success he did in his second stint. So if you're a Browns fan, I think that's what you're excited about. It's like, okay, he's going to take everything that didn't go well, learn, and apply it to this next, iteration. And this gets to be his own deal, right? Like this gets to be something where he's not taking Dable's system. He can bring what's now his system somewhere else and kind of collaborate.
How much credit does Ken Dorsey get in your mind for Josh Allen's development? First as his quarterbacks coach, and then of course as his OC.
A lot. And I think the lessons learned from Cam, like that was almost like that was a perfect player for player comp, like with the way that they play. Like Deshaun can run, and he's been very successful running over the course of his career, but he does it a little bit differently. And that's not to say that what he learned from working with Cam and Josh won't help Deshaun Watson. I just think it's a little bit different. But I think just the fact that he played the position, he has, some skins on the wall is the phrase they always like to use in the building. He takes that and brings it to the way that he operates the offense. And not only that, provides extra layers for the quarterback to see the game through the same eyes that have seen the game, and I think that that's helped him a lot, just like connecting with his guys. So I think that'll help. I mean, obviously, it seems like from the outside looking in, Deshaun might need that, might need a new voice, might need somebody like, okay, there's been some proven success. Maybe I have to change my game a little bit, maybe do some different things. I think Ken has a really good demeanor about him that could help in that environment. And he's got a lot of exciting ideas. I mean, Dable credited him a lot for how that offense evolved over the years. When he left or when he was fired, Josh Allen came out, took the responsibility and basically said that I wouldn't be the quarterback that I am today without Ken Dorsey. So there's inside the building, that was a really hard decision. It wasn't one where it was a decision made for a team that the expectation was to win a Super Bowl. And they were sitting at a spot outside of the playoffs after 12 games. But I think if you polled everybody in that building, everybody probably would have said they wish Ken Dorsey was still there. I don't think he was fired because he was bad at his job. It was something had to happen. Something had to change.